I'm Todd for G66. Welcome to another Tuesday tone tip. In today's video, I want to show you, in my opinion, probably the most useful and easy way to dial in tones using the looper in the Axe-Fx III and FM3. The looper is an essential utility tool in these units that will perform a few different tasks for you and never complain about it. I'm basically going to use it. I'm Todd for G66. Welcome to another Tuesday tone tip. In today's video, I want to show you how I use the looper block in the Axe-Fx III and FM3 to dial in guitar sounds. The looper is fantastic as a general utility tool for this because I can place it first in row like I have here before my amp and cabinet, and I can use it to just record a quick little riff straight out of my guitar. So it's essentially going to sample my raw unprocessed guitar tone, and then it is going to play it back consistently and without complaining into the amp and the cabinet block. So I'm going to have a consistent source of audio coming in that I can then basically put my guitar down. I don't have to worry about playing. I don't have to worry about the acoustic sound of my guitar kind of interfering with what I'm hearing from the speakers, and it will give me a much better idea of what an audience is actually going to hear. If I'm on stage playing my guitar through a big PA, the audience can't hear that acoustic sound. They're just going to hear the process sound. So that's why I would encourage you to use the looper for this particular task. But I'm going to show you how to use the looper. So let's do this. This is how I do it. Whether you have a foot controller or not, this particular method works really, really well. I'm going to go for a kind of just straight up classic rock thing. So I'm going to use the Atomica Hiatt amp model. One of my favorite amps in here. I know that if I can get this particular amp sounding good with a particular cabinet, then just about all my other favorite amps are going to work as well. So in the looper, let's do this. Let's turn the record threshold up somewhere beyond this little blue line here. That means that when I press record in the looper, it's not going to start recording. It's just going to arm the looper. And once I start playing my guitar and my input level exceeds this threshold level that I've set here, the looper is going to automatically start recording. So I could do something like this. Now, one little issue with that, you could hear I accidentally hit the strings when I started playing. So I can trim the start right there with this trim start button so that the riff starts exactly where I start playing. Somewhere around there, close enough is good enough, and I can trim the end. So let's do that. Now, I'm just gonna have a little riff that's gonna play back consistently, and I can dive in and choose a cabinet, and then I can tweak my amp. Let's have a listen to this. This is also a fantastic way to annoy your neighbors or your significant other because it's just gonna be the same riff playing back. So we've got the looper set up now to play something stylistically appropriate for what we're trying to dial in. What I want you to do in the cabinet block, if you haven't figured out what your favorite cabinet IRs in the Axe-Fx III are, we're gonna use this method to find out what they are. So I've started with a cab I like the sound of, Factory 2, number 842. It's a York Audio Impulse, and I like the way it sounds with just about any high gain amp. What I'm gonna do is I am gonna go to the picker. I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna pin this. So what I can do is select a cabinet and then use the up and down actually and the left and right buttons on my computer keyboard to navigate through different IRs. Once I hear an IR that I like, I'm gonna right click it and assign a color to it so that I can remember which one was my favorite. So again, that process is we come into the cab picker, we are gonna pin it, and then we're gonna use left, right, and up and down to audition cabs. The cool thing about this, again, I don't have the acoustic sound of my guitar clashing with my amplified sound, and I don't have to look. I can remove that element of bias. I know I like 4x12s. I know I like particular microphones, and that kind of makes it hard to bust out of that rut of always going, oh, I'm going to select a rectify cabinet with an SM57. This way I can just use my ears, and the guiding principle is if it sounds good, it is good. So I'm going to play the loop, and then I'm going to do this trick where I pin everything and just audition some IRs without looking. Let's go. Hopefully I'll be surprised. once I've marked out the cabs that I like, I can come in here and filter them out by color. I was using blue, so I've picked out a couple of different little cabinets in there. For example, this 4x12 Brit 70s. 313 microphone, I probably never would have gone there if I wasn't experimenting like this. I also chose two Rekno cabinets, one with a 906 microphone, it's like a dynamic alternative to a Shure SM57, and one with an M160. That's a ribbon microphone. Again, I probably wouldn't have gone there by default. So let's roll with this particular cabinet. Of course, what I could do is load up multiple cabs in the different cabinet slots and blend them. If you haven't seen the Tuesday tone tip I did where I talked about the cab block in depth, go and check that one out. What I can do finally to polish everything off is go to the amp block and I can just dial this in. Again, I'm going to use the looper. I'm just going to stick to the authentic controls. I'll get the gain where I like it. Then I'm going to tweak the bass, middle, treble, and presence. Let's go. All right, I am happy enough with that right there. You can see I ended up bringing the bass down, a little bit extra mid-range. The treble's basically at default values, and I brought the presence and the input drive down. What I can do now is I can actually play my guitar and see how this feels and responds in my hands. Of course, I could go back and say select a different cabinet from the list that I liked. Again, we'll filter them out. Let's try this Brit 70s cabinet. Okay, that sounds a little bit dark, so I'll play the looper again and dial in the amp for that IR. Okay, so probably needed a little less bass and a little bit more treble and presence and mid-range there. Let's check that out. Very nice indeed. Hopefully that stresses the importance of tweaking your amp to suit your cabinet IR and vice versa. And the best way to do that is to use the looper in there. This is a really powerful way to basically go through all the options we have in the Axe-Fx III and the FM3 and whittle those options down into just a few choices that you know you're going to like. You're almost definitely not going to like the same tones and cabinet IRs and amps that I like or somebody else likes. But that's the beauty of these devices. There is no right way to get your guitar sound. As long as it sounds good to you, as long as it works in the context of the music you're making, that's all that matters. For example, one last little thing there, you could see in the picker, I had chosen earlier this 1x8 little tweed cabinet. 421 microphone on there, it's a 1x8. How does it sound with this particular amp? I can hear it and then just quickly fine tune the amp to suit that IR. Let's do that. So because it's a 1x8 speaker, there's less low end, there's relatively a lot more high end in there. Again, this is not something I would have done by default, but this is a cool tone. This gives me a cool option, something different. Variety is the spice of life after all. Got a really kind of snarling mid-range in there where that might not be the best choice for like a super high gain modern rock thing, but if I was going for something a little more 70s inspired, that might be the ticket. You can see totally different settings for a totally different cab with a different end result, but I really enjoyed playing all of those tones. And again, this is not specifically about the end result of the tone. This video is all about the process. And if you go through this process, you will eliminate option paralysis. You will dial in more appropriate tones. And at the end of the day, I think you're going to be happier in the long run because you're going to go through your cabinets and you're going to filter out thousands of choices into maybe 5 or 10 different choices. You can do the same thing and filter out appropriate amps, and then you're not restricting yourself. That's not the right way to think about it. You're providing yourself with a far more pragmatic palette with which to make the music you want to make. Anyway, that is this week's Tuesday tone tip. If you have any specific questions about anything we covered here, let me know in the comments. Go and use the looper and dial in some epic tones. I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.